All right, this is so exciting. We are back at the big desk. It's been a really long time. In fact, the last time that we were here, I think we all had high expectations for the Celtics. Chris Mannix from Sports Illustrated, also Celtics Pregame Live, is with us. Chris, will this Celtics team be different? Have they truly turned a corner? Is our excitement validated?
I think the way that they've turned the corner is that they have become a consistently excellent defensive team. And watching them early in the season, you would see runs of good defense, but then you would see the occasional clunker where a team shot high 40s from the field, low 40s from three, and they give 120, 130 points. And you'd scratch your head and go, wait a minute. This is a team with Rob Williams, a great shot blocker. Marcus Smart, arguably the premier perimeter defender in the NBA. Tatum and Brown, good defensive players. Why are they playing with such maddening inconsistency? So you couldn't figure it out. But since really Christmas, when they have been, I think, the number 2 defense in the NBA, creeping up on that number 1 slot right now overall, they have been consistently excellent. And look, offense wins a lot of games in the regular season. Defense wins playoff games. Games slow down. Possessions are more valuable. If they can play at this level defensively, they're going to be a threat in the playoffs. Okay, so what I think most of us, though, are wondering is what happened? Like, why all of a sudden did the light switch get turned back on? Because this team looked, honestly, like they were disinterested at points early in this season. Well, I think there's a few things that have to do with it. One, guys going in and out of the lineup, which affected every team in the league. More than 500 players have shuffled through the NBA this season because of COVID-related issues. The other, and I think more importantly, is that they changed coaches. And the guys that were around were used to one voice for a long period of time, and more specifically, one set of principles. So it just took a while. It took a while. I mean, both on and off the court, right? On the court, like specifically, I'll give you an example of defensive switching, right? Brad Stevens, not so much with the defensive switching. Ime Udoka does that. That's something the team has to get used to and adjust to, especially guys that have been around for a long time. And then off the court, I mean, Ime Udoka would take out the wood stick, and just bash these guys consistently. First 2 months of the season, when this team struggled or looked mentally checked out, as you mentioned, Ime Udoka would say it. Whereas Brad Stevens last year, his philosophy was bring it all on me. Put it all on me. It's all my fault. Ime Udoka would often say, look, we prepared these guys for that. It's kind of their fault in a way. He didn't say that specifically, but he's like, at times he did. It felt like he was saying that at all times. So I think adjusting to all that over the first 2 months of the season was a bigger adjustment than maybe we thought. Now that they're all kind of in, healthy, used to Udoka's system, this is kind of how they're playing. All right, so they're playing better. They've got a good defensive team. They've got a coach and a system that they're now buying into. But I think a lot of us look around the East and say, still, though, where do they realistically stack up? Like, how much better are they when they're playing the way they are now than other teams in the East? Yeah, it's a fair question because you look at this schedule in a vacuum and say, oh, they beat Brooklyn. Well, they beat Brooklyn without anybody on that Nets team. Oh, they beat Philadelphia. Well, Philadelphia just made the James Harden trade and didn't have all its pieces in place. I'm reserving judgment, withholding judgment, until we see this team go on a run and beat a team like Philadelphia with James Harden in the lineup. Beat Cleveland, a good Cleveland team that upgraded with Karis LeVert before the trade deadline. Beat Miami, which they did, early in the season. Miami, I think, was coming off a triple overtime game a couple of nights before. So beat these teams at full strength during the second half of the season, post-All-Star. That's when I'll get a clear idea of where this team really is. I'll put you down for team realistic and not team green teamer. Team happier, though. Team happier. Yes, definitely team happier. I sat right here at this desk trying to be miserable so many times after Celtic games going, what are we watching? What are we watching? I saw your misery. It came through on the big screen. The Celtics are, without a doubt, the hottest team in the NBA. They are the first team in NBA history to win 3 straight road games by 30 points or more. The C's are averaging a plus 21 point differential over their last 12 games, and they own the best defensive rating in the NBA over the last 9 games. So we got to talk about this turnaround. To do that, let's begin our deep dive, bringing in Sports Illustrated. No, I think that's actually wrong. I think we're bringing in Chris Forsberg, our own Chris Forsberg, and Cedric Maxwell. I'm just a gal who reads whatever's in her script, you guys. Just know that always going forward. Max, we got to get to you first. First of all, lovely suit and tie combination. Second of all, are you buying into this Celtics hype? I mean, 538 saying that these guys are now the favorites to win the NBA title. Are they that good?
I'm not buying into that. What I'm buying into is what a lot of people are talking about is the way they're defending. And I think that, you look at the teams, and when they won 5 in a row, I'm like, 6 in a row, 7. Now, when you start winning like that and winning on the road, then you've shown me that defensively you're connected. Ime Udoka has done a great job of getting these guys to play together, buy in, distribute the basketball. So I like all the concepts that are going on. And they have played some teams right now that people would say are really good because Philadelphia is on the roll. You crushed them in Philly. You beat Brooklyn without, some of their players. But it is an interesting concept what they're saying right now. I'm not sizing myself up for a ring yet. I know that.
Well, Chris Forsberg, you wrote today on NBCSportsBoston.com how good this defense is. But is it enough to make them a true contender in the East and make a deep run once the postseason comes around?
No, so you got to have both, right? Like, you got to be an elite defense and make that your identity and make that the backbone of everything you do. That's going to give you a chance, but the offense needs to go to another level. And the one thing we've seen throughout the history of the last 2 decades is you probably need a top 10 offense to win a championship as well. You can't just be one side of the ball. And the Celtics have decidedly not been that for most of this season. But could Jason Tatum get super hot in April and May? Could Jaylen Brown figure it out in April and May? Could this whole thing just work based on ball movement and finding good shots and nights like last night where you make a franchise record 25-3? So if that all comes together, then you've got a chance to be something special. But you need, before, the problem with this team was they didn't have any sort of identity. And now they've clearly made it defense. Your top 7, there is not a weak link in that group, and you feel confident. You can have nights like last night where Marcus Smart leaves and Rob Williams isn't out there, and the defense still is at an elite level. So they've got that. They've got to work on the offensive side and figure out how to get that to just be a little bit better than what it is. And maybe you do have a chance at surprising some people in the playoffs.
Yeah, Max, they do seem to have not just a different identity, but an identity, period. I mean, I think for a while we were all wondering who exactly this team was going to be. What has been the biggest change in your mind? Like, when you watch them play night in and night on, you watch them interact, was it a team meeting that switched everything? Was it just getting used to the system? Like, why all of a sudden are they living up to their potential?
I think a combination of those things you talked about, but for me, it really started out with the initial point of attack with Marcus Smart. And I'll share this with you. I was on the elevator with Marcus Smart after it got to 5 in a row. I said, you guys are playing pretty well. And he said, that's what happened when you let the damn point guard run the offense. So there's a belief that he's there. He knows what he wants to do. They're distributing the basketball. And the point that Sean Grandy made, my broadcast partner, said, we've been looking for a third star. Well, are we looking one right now at Rob Williams because of what he's able to do? So this team has been consistently getting better, and you have to like that if you're a Boston Celtic fan.
Yeah, that's really all you can ask for right now. All right, Forsberg, we're going to let you get ready for pregame live, but it is time now to look at the Ford Big Board. Built for America, built Ford proud. The Celtics' 2 most recent additions making an immediate impact. Derek White with another solid game yesterday, including a plus 41. Daniel Tice picked up right where he left off with the C's. The big man with 9 boards, 4 blocks against Philly, and the new-look Boston Celtics certainly getting the attention of 76ers head coach Doc Rivers.
They just beat us all night. They beat us off the dribble. They got into the paint, and they moved the ball. I mean, that's the one thing. You watch Boston play, and you can literally see the improvement of their ball movement. The old Boston is more ISOs. This Boston is driving and playing with each other, and that's what makes them so much tougher. I think it makes Tatum and Brown even tougher when they move the ball like that.
All right, now we got Mannix here on the desk with me. We still got Cedric Maxwell, who is live at the Garden. Mannix, they thought, at least in the offseason, that by making the switch, moving Brad Stevens to the front office and implementing Ime Udoka as their head coach was the right move. Is that bearing the fruits now, or is it sort of like the team a little bit where slow your roll, it's a little too early to tell?
No, I think you're seeing some of the benefits of having a new voice in Ime Udoka, some of the principles that he's instilled. If you remember, you go back to his introductory press conference, he kind of took I don't call it a dig, but he made a joke about this team needing to improve its assist percentage. It was down the bottom third of the NBA in Brad Stevens' final year in Boston. Now, it didn't manifest itself early on, as you kind of heard Doc Rivers say, but during this stretch, they're moving the basketball around. They're whipping it around the perimeter, and that makes you a much better offensive team. Couple that with a team that has the horses to be great defensively and is now playing a system that seems to work for them and put them among the top 5 teams in the Eastern Conference.
Max, are they better off today than they were last year with this combination the way it is?
Yeah, I think they are because they believe in what they can do defensively. Every night you come out, your offense might not be good, but defensively you can be a great team because it's all about effort. Throw in Al Horford here, who's been really playing well. You look at the combinations that they have going at people. I like what I see with this team. But the strong thing, people talk about Brad Stevens and what he didn't do, but let's talk about Brad Stevens at the trades he made or the trades he didn't make. Everybody wanted to kick everybody out, and now everybody wants to say we're happy. So I like the way Brad has done this thing.
Max, you get access to the team that, quite frankly, most of us can't as being part of the team broadcast crew. You talked about being in the elevator.
Trini, you can go anywhere. Trini, you go anywhere you want to go. Don't worry about that.
I'll just tell him I know Cedric Maxwell. But like you said, you were in the elevator with Marcus Smart, right? And then so we heard from Ime Udoka say, in order to motivate my team yesterday, I showed them sound from Joel Embiid after we got our butts kicked by Philadelphia, saying they weren't all that difficult to defend. Charlotte was much more difficult. What kind of motivator is Ime Udoka? Like, how is he getting the best out of these guys?
Well, I think that what he does, he's challenging them all on every way. He is not taking responsibility. He is giving it to them and saying, this is what you didn't do. I prepared my team, and if you're going to play the right way, then we're going to win basketball games. So his belief in them, their belief in him, I think is really starting to pay some fruit, and I think that's why they're playing well right now, especially on that defensive end.
All right, Max, well, we have to, as long as we've got you on the show, we must ask you about this, and we're going to bring in our other fashion expert, Tom Giles, for this. James Harden not in uniform last night, and lucky for us because we were treated to this. I'm not quite sure what it was. It looks like sort of a medieval vest combined with Game of Thrones like armor. Like, I don't really know what's going on. I called you an international man of fashion. Cedric Maxwell, what did you think of this outfit from James Harden? Is this high fashion or a fashion victim?
Let me do it like this. I go hell to the no. That's what I say, because what I look at is a bunch of tattered clothes. It's like something he just pulled out of like a dog had chased him, grabbed one of the arms of the coat, ripped that one off, then ripped the other one off. I don't know where he was going with that. And this is a guy who has done a lot of stuff with Louis Vuitton, all these different high designers. Sometimes you can go too far over the top. That was too far over the top.
Yeah, not for me. I certainly couldn't pull it off, and I honestly don't think that James Harden pulled it off either, Trenny.
No, he did. Honestly, he looked like a sad character from Game of Thrones. Giles, sticking with Harden, once he's back, how much, in your opinion, will that change the Sixers?
They'll be better, but I actually wonder how well that's going to work. How it's going to work with Joel Embiid, who really is, ball dominant, and James Harden on the other side. Does he actually make Philadelphia a title contender, which is where they're being placed right now as far as betting goes? People are looking at Philadelphia right up there with close to the Warriors and the Suns. I don't see them as such. I see Philadelphia as a team that the Celtics could actually beat in a playoff series. I think it'd have to go 7 games, but I'm not as scared of them. Also, the loss of Seth Curry, I think, affects them more than they want to admit.
Yeah, I think there's going to be an adjustment period for this Sixers team. Harden trying to figure out how to play offensively with Joel Embiid is going to be a challenge. Harden, Tyrese Maxey existing in that backcourt. Tyrese Maxey has been the primary playmaker for this team for the better part of this season. How does he accept a role that is a little bit different? And I agree with Giles. I mean, shooting and floor spacing has been a big part of the Sixers' success offensively. Seth Curry, one of the best shooters in the league. Now they have to put somebody else in that slot. They're going to be a little bit tighter when it comes to those offensive sets. All
right, so really quickly, going around the horn, guys, who wins in a series against the C's, between the C's and the 76ers in the postseason? Max, go first, then Giles, then Mannix.
Ooh, you put some pressure on me, but I'm going to go with the C's. And I go with the C's because I heard Ime Udoka say one thing. He said, the 76ers will not be better right now defensively with Harden. And at the end of the day, playoff games are won primarily because of teams are better on the defensive end.
Yeah, I said Celtics in 7. I could even be talking to Celtics in 6. I could see Philadelphia maybe quitting halfway through the series.
Oh, I hate being this guy. 6 and 7, but it's a lot closer today than it was last week.
All right, since you're the negative Nelly over here, Nets. Celtics and Nets, because they seem kind of like a disaster, maybe like a disaster waiting to happen.
Answer me 2 questions. What kind of shape is Ben Simmons in right now, and how many games can Kyrie Irving play?
How is Ben Simmons? How is Ben Simmons not in shape now?
The mayor of New York City, though, came out today for the first time and kind of vacillated a little bit on whether that mandate's going to stay in place for the next few months. Kyrie could be back full bore sooner than we think.
Giles?
Yeah, I still would lean towards the Nets in this situation with Kyrie and Kevin Durant. Just remember what they did to you in the playoffs last year, Max.
Kevin Durant right now is arguably one of the best players right now, and I'm not sure if you have an answer there. The Nets are going to be better defensively, but they're going to be a lot better offensively with Simmons being out there just pushing the basketball.
Yeah, that is the problem. I think Kevin Durant can beat a lot of teams single-handedly.